Yeah, it's a free and open source online-based software, which is why I chose this as the platform to use for today. You can also georeference in more kind of standard GIS software applications like ArcGIS Pro or QGIS, and there are some other online-based solutions as well. But I like this one because it's has kind of the lowest barrier of entry, I think, out of those options, but certainly may be limited in some features that others have. You can see here, this is home screen, and I've been testing some georeferencing, so you can see it has some of my maps on here. One thing I want to make clear up front about this software is any map that you upload on here and georeference, it does post it publicly. So just keep that in mind, in case you want to kind of control who has access to whatever map that you are georeferencing. There is an option if you go to your maps. So I can go to one here and I go edit. Yet you can delete it after you've uploaded it and georeferenced it. So if you do want to georeference something and then don't want it to live on here, you can georeference it, download the product, and then delete it on here. But you can also leave stuff on here for the idea of then people can access it and download it and use it. So you can see a number of tabs on here. You can browse other people's maps and find maps by location. But what we're focused on today is georeferencing our own maps. So we're going to focus on this upload map tab first off, and you can see here that you're given some different areas for metadata to enter in here, so you can be really detailed. What I'm going to use as an example of places to find scanned non-georeference maps here are from our map collection here at UT Austin. So I can share this link in case anyone else wants to browse this collection for maps to use. But yeah, feel free to use either your institution or any other kind of source of scanned maps that you want to use. You can see, so to actually upload a map, it's down at the bottom here. You choose a file or upload from a URL. I had some trouble with the upload from a URL option, so I've been using the download option. But so here I'll find a map I want to use, and the way I would recommend doing this is go to topic and press more, and then if you sort by number, you can see we have two kind of very large topics of maps here. So military maps, generally from the World War I and World War II eras, and then these fire risk assessment maps that if you're unfamiliar with Sanborn fire insurance maps, that's what these are. Sanborn fire insurance maps. It sounds a little boring just based on that description, like fire insurance, but what these maps are maps from late 1800s to generally the early 1900s in our collection, at least, that are extremely detailed views of different places around Texas, and Sanborn maps, and generally they're all over the country, but our collection focuses on Texas. And yeah, because they're fire insurance maps, they have down to the very kind of nitty-gritty details of like what different buildings were made out of, things like that. So they're a really cool historical reference. But I'm going to start here with these military maps. They're at a scale that makes, I think, georeferencing easier than the fire insurance maps, which I'll demonstrate one of those quickly afterwards, which will show kind of why they're a bit more of a challenge and puzzle. So I recommend if you're brand new to georeferencing, I would begin with these military maps here. And yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're using a different map, then it'll have its own features and challenges maybe. But to download any of these, you can go on here, and from the top bar of this interface, you just press download. And it'll give you an option for georeferencing. It's really nice to have a higher resolution image. So I would encourage you to download one of these, the higher resolution ones, if you have space on your machine. I already downloaded a few, so I'm not actually going to download this live to save time. So now I'll go back here and I'll upload a file, and I'm going to do, this map here that I downloaded earlier. And as I saved it, I just copy and pasted the name of the map to keep it all straight here. And so this is Central Europe road maps. I'm going to copy this again as I press open so I can fill in the title easily from there. And then I'm just going to go back, and I believe these are generally from 1953. So I'm just going to put the year in here, and leave that as it is for now, since this is more of kind of a learning activity. I wouldn't worry too much about filling in much of the metadata. I mean, feel free to put in the description, anything like that. But yeah, I'll leave this just fairly unfilled out at this point. And now when I have my file chosen here and just a title and a year, I'm going to press create. Oh, and my file name is already in use. So let me change that file name to I just put a different title. Okay, it wants a new file, so let me just quickly change the name on here. All right. Thanks for bearing with me with the fun kind of live demo things that come up. All right, and that was successfully created. So if you get your file uploaded correctly and have the title and that basic information, you should see a confirmation screen like this. Map was successfully created. And now from here, we have a nice selection of tabs to use. And the edit button, that's just going to take you back here. So you can always go back in and fill in some additional description and metadata entries here. And then the other tab we're going to use is rectify. So this is where we're actually going to do our kind of active georeferencing, which is assigning those ground control points. And so you'll see here we have two different interfaces. We have our just image, which is the scan map that we uploaded, and then we've got a digital map up here, which is kind of like a Google map, or whatever kind of maybe navigation map app you use on your phone and computer. Fairly similar, but it does have OpenStreetMap as this kind of crowdsourced geographic information platform, and it uses that data for the base map here. So the step here then is to just kind of familiarize yourself with your scan map if you're unfamiliar with it. Now, as you may guess, this task is easier if you are familiar with a place. So you may want to consider that as you're choosing what map you may want to use. It helps to have a little bit of a geographical understanding of that place. You can see here, I'm going to just kind of scramble around here. It looks, to me, I'm not extremely familiar with tree stay is, but I can see if I zoom in here, I start to see some fairly Italian looking names, and there's the namesake location city there. And I can browse around a bit more and see, maybe try to go into some population areas, Palma. So I have an idea. Okay, I start to recognize this is looking like kind of northern Italy, and then you can see at the corner here we have Venice. So when I start matching these locations, I have kind of a general idea of where to go. And with a map at this scale, like a nice coastline like this can really help with kind of figuring out where I am and starting to align things. So I'm just going to do now a sort of rough matching of these locations where, okay, I can already see like Trieste coming up, and I can see Venezia. And I can start to zoom in, and so I can now even see, all right, this kind of similar bay here, and again get an idea of how to start matching these. But this is a process that usually involves sort of zooming in and out. So it helps to get used to these kind of zoom bars, which can be a little bit buggy, I've found on this. If you get kind of overly zoomed in, just patiently zoom out. It did that for me a few times earlier. So I'm going to start with maybe the most obvious place on this map to begin with, which is Trieste really stands out here. It stands out on my reference map over here. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in because as you'll see, zooming in, and this is where resolution becomes important. We want to be fairly precise here with where we put our control points. And so zooming in will allow me to not just kind of generally match things, but to get as close as possible. So I'll also zoom in on my reference map over here, and I can see based on kind of the center of the city here and this shape, and if you're maybe unsure, is this the shape that I see here? It also helps to look at some surrounding areas so I can see, okay, yeah, it also this matches this, so I have a pretty good idea. And then choosing a location that can be easily matched. So if I just chose kind of a random location on the land here, that maybe didn't have like road intersections that I could match, or other kind of standout features, it may be hard to get that kind of precise match that I'm looking for. But if I choose a land feature like this, where I can pick out kind of a outermost point of this peninsula, then I can match those better than if it were a place that didn't have a really kind of standout feature that's easily matched. So once I'm ready and I've identified that, I can go ahead and start adding control points. So the way to add control points on this interface is you see these little icons up at the top right here. This kind of pin balloon thing is the add control point feature. And so when I have that activated, when I click on the map, it's going to add a control point. So I can go ahead and I'm going to choose kind of the outermost feature of this peninsula here. And so I press that. And now I'm going to go to my reference map and choose that matching location. And yeah, I could be even more precise in thinking about this and be extremely careful for this demo. You know, I'm going to kind of limit that and just be fairly general. But now that you see, I have both of these control points matching on here. It's important to remember I haven't actually added that yet. These are still just temporary. I need to click this add control point feature when I'm happy with what I've put down there to match. So I can now go ahead and press add control point. You can see I get a little message down here, new control point added. And the symbol has changed from just that kind of salmon colored point to now they both have a number 1 on there. So now I've done my first control point. You may be wondering, okay, like how many control points does it require? The answer is, that there's not a set number that you want to get to. You do need at least 3 points to rectify the map, but generally what you're going for is a few different things. So you want at least 3 control points, but what's really important about these control points is that they are distributed across the map in as even in a way as possible. Because if I just had 5 control points right around in this tree stay area, then the other parts of my map would not be accurate and would probably be all kind of warped and things like that. So if I'm interested in this whole map, then I need to get a nice kind of spatial distribution of my control points. And then one bit of information here, after you have added your control points and you have those finalized, it's good to remember to go back to these icons up here. And if you're going to move your map around, either go back to this hand or arrow symbol. That's going to allow you to then pan without accidentally placing a point down. If you do accidentally, which I've been doing that all the time, using the software is forgetting to do that, and I accidentally leave a random one there. That's okay. You can just leave it. It's not going to do anything. And you can then, whenever you click again to add an actual control point, it'll just move that control point there. So it looks a little bit annoying for the moment, but yeah, you don't have to worry about that because it's just a temporary point that'll be changed. But with that in mind, I think I'll choose my second area in all the way on the other side of the map here in Venezia. So, which is useful because it's both a pretty recognizable name on this map. I know how to navigate to it on my reference map, but it's also this kind of island where I can, again, easily pick out a feature that I can match here. And so now I'll add my new control points and press add control point. Now I have 2, and I can go back to my map, zoom out a bit, and now think, okay, where are some other locations where I need a control point? I'm thinking next, maybe down here somewhere. So since I don't have kind of nearby control points, so I'm going to navigate down to around Pula in both of these, and I think I'll probably choose this kind of thing that juts out here to add my next control point. So boom, and boom, and add control point. So now I have 3. I could, at this point, press on this warp image option, so you can see that's now available because I have 3 control points. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to add one more because, as you can see, I accidentally added a temporary one, but again, no worries. I have a fairly good distribution in this part of the map. If I were really doing this kind of non-demo, I'd at least want 1 or 2 up in this region, 1 or 2 over here, maybe 1 down here, and I'd probably go and search out that one to get a nice distribution of control points. For the sake here of having a map that hopefully looks okay, I'm going to pick some area up here. Now, you can see it gets a little more challenging as I go inland with kind of less obvious features. It's fairly crowded, but I can see, okay, Houdini stands out. I think I can probably find this on my reference map here. And another thing I would like, if you're having trouble kind of navigating and finding areas, I wouldn't hesitate to pull up Google Maps and search and kind of get that location. So you can find Houdini here. But if you're having trouble, just open another tab, Google Maps, search it, or whatever kind of online map thing you like to use. But yeah, Houdini is a good area here, standing out. I'm gonna take 1 step back because it's fairly undetailed here, but it looks like I can find kind of the very center here, which may have changed from 30s or the 50s a little bit, but I think generally that center is going to match up pretty well, probably right in the middle here. So I won't worry about being too precise. And again, with this scale of a map, it's a little bit less important to be super precise, as long as you're being generally kind of accurate across the board with your control points. So I'm going to go ahead and add that now. All right, and before I warp this, I do want to point out, if you add control points that you decide aren't correct or inaccurate, if you want to delete them, you can click on control points, which shows the latitude and longitude of these. And I do get a little like a kind of error measurement here. You can go ahead and delete these. I wouldn't worry too much about the error measurements at this stage. That's for being really precise and wanting to kind of quantify your precision and your accuracy. But yeah, these delete buttons are where you would go to if you wanted to delete one of these points. All right. But I don't want to do that at this point. Instead, I'm going to press warp image, and this is where it's actually going to rectify my scan map onto the reference map using these points as the way to the georeference. All right, so I got my map rectified, and now you can see it shows up now on the interface here, and this is, I think, the exciting moment where you can see what was just an image is now geospatial data, right? Where you can see it overlays, and now I can really go in and test and see, like, are things lining up the way I was hoping that they would line up. And you can use this slider at the bottom to control the transparency. So I can see the shape. It's fairly accurate. I mean, definitely, generally lines up, and the coastline seems to line up decently. I can see, maybe I would want to, if I was really serious about this product, go in and maybe try to fix it so that these line up a little better. But yeah, generally, yeah, you can see the coastline lines up nicely, and this map lays over the digital map. Well, it has generally been successfully georeferenced. So yeah, I can be happy with this as a demo. Again, I wasn't extremely careful with like the precision of my control points, but get the idea with that and what this kind of smaller scale, large extent map georeferencing process looks like. Are there any questions at this point on the general process or any of the specificities of the software or anything like that?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you did want to adjust it so that it fit the coastline just a little bit better, that one spot you were talking about, is it that you just move the point again? Or what would it be that you would do to begin to adjust it to make it better?
Yeah, so on some software, it allows you to actually kind of move around the points here. I think what seems to be the best way to do things is to, well, actually, let me test this out quickly. So if I go down here to my control points, and I select these, no, it doesn't look like it. So what I could do is, so I'm gonna go to my number one here and see, okay, it looks like maybe this needs to be moved back a little bit, or maybe, okay, instead of that point, maybe I want to use like this outermost point instead. What I could do is delete point one,
Hmm.
and
And then add
now,
in another one.
yeah, and go
Okay.
back and add that in. So re-navigate here
Hmm.
to, yeah, that point, and go and like add that in, and then do the corresponding point,
Hmm.
add control point.
Okay.
Yeah, and now you can see, don't think I have to, yeah, I don't have to rewarp my map. It puts it back on there, and I can go back and test and see if it aligns a bit better.
Hmm. Thank you.
And yeah, it does, maybe seems to have aligned better. You can
Hmm.
see certainly that error measurement is lower.
Hmm.
Um,
We do have a question in chat.
oh, here.
Anne, who's using Brianna's, which is totally fine, she's asked, what would happen if someone else already georeferenced a map that you're trying to georeference?
Yeah, so it depends on if you have access to the underlying scanned map. I would just maybe start fresh. If you on this software, I'm not sure if it lets you upload like say like a geotiff or a geojson. You can see here if it allows that. But yeah, generally you could take that already georeferenced map, and if it allows you to upload it here, you could add other control points, but generally I'm not sure if that's best practice. I doubt that the software actually um, works that way. So I think instead, yeah, you would want to um, probably, yeah, find that underlying source if you could. I guess so the use case is it kind of a like an unsuccessfully georeferenced map that you have access to? Yes. Yeah, do you have access to the underlying, like the original kind of non-georeferenced data set? And as okay, well, yeah, let's talk after. I'm going to show a kind of what a different type of map might look like on here, but after that, we can talk and kind of figure it out. Yeah, so I just want to show if we go back to this catalog here, and instead of focusing on the military maps, I'm going to change this topic to our fire risk assessment maps, which are quite different in scale. They're extremely different. So these cover very small extents, usually like a few blocks in different locations around Texas. Let me go through and find a few here. So here's one in Fredericksburg, for example. So you can see here, like we only have a few streets. This one is especially strange because these streets have the same name. So yeah, this would be probably a bad example. But let's pick up this one in San Augustine. You can see this map has, yeah, just a very small extent it corresponds to, so we call it a large scale map. That's kind of confusing, you know. But we have, yeah, just kind of a few different streets to choose from. And oftentimes with these Sanborn maps, you can see this was done in 1927. Some of the street names have changed. So this is much more challenging to georeference, I would say, is a map of this scale that's historical, where you're relying on street names that may have changed. And another thing to pay attention to here with these Sanborns is you want to pay attention to the orientation of the map. So, I think we're very used to going on to like a Google Maps or something. Yeah, and the street numbering as well has changed. So there's these are kind of a puzzle, I would say. Start with those military maps from the World War eras, and then if you want to challenge and maybe have a location that you're familiar with, and maybe want to work out the puzzle of the Sanborns, move on to the Sanborns. But you can see, yeah, so the orientation isn't north to south, and yet you only have kind of a select number of intersections to choose from. And if those street names have changed, yeah, it becomes harder. So what that looks like in here, let me go back to maybe my maps. I can show a bit what that process looks like. Yeah, here the rectification process is this is Paris, Texas, by the way, as you can see here, and from the title, this process is a bit of a challenge. So let me, go ahead and find Paris, Texas. And this one, I at least have the plaza. That gives me a great starting point of, okay, the plaza is here. Sometimes you'll see like the numbered streets can oftentimes be useful, but at other points, like with this one, it seems like the kind of numbering system has changed since then, where you can see like we're dealing with First Street, Second Street, Fourth Street, and these don't align here, but we can see, okay, start to pick out, while keeping in mind that the orientation on these do not match, and that doesn't seem to be a way to change the orientation of the reference map. So that's a little confusing, but I would just start with, again, the plaza. So I can go the center of the plaza. And next I'll look for, okay, Kaufman lines up with Kaufman here. I can see we're west of the plaza. And so I'm going to go, I even though the names have changed on some of these, if I go to one street over from this intersection, And the reason we use intersections here instead of just like the kind of middle of streets, and actually best practice for this plaza would be to use a corner of the plaza, because center, it's harder to be accurate and precise. So here, if I wanted to change that, again, I can just go click on the corner, and now click on the corner here, remembering that, again, the orientation doesn't line up. So this is going to be the southwest corner, right? So this one, I believe. And then, yeah, Kaufman, I'm going to go west to one over for my next control point. So I'm going to add that. Now, yeah, so Kaufman, and do I have like a grand street here that I can reference? But so I'm gonna, yeah, just move one over here and give a point maybe right on the corner here, and then here right on that matching corner, add control point. And now I see another matching one, so Bonham, and you can see that will go 1, 2, 3 away. And one here in this corner, and 1, 2, 3, and that, yeah, matching corner, this one, and add that control point. So with these maps, with the change streets, it's a little bit more of a puzzle. Yeah, and for me, that the lack of the orientation lining up really creates a challenge. But I can warp it and see how it looks. And yeah, you can see it doesn't look nice like my European one earlier. So I probably either made a bit of a mistake, or I would just need, another reference point or two here. But since now I at least have the orientation lined up a little bit better, it's possibly a bit easier to go through and add some more. So yeah, that's all to say. Just wanted to show what a different scale map would look like on here. And then once you're ready and happy with your product, you can go ahead, you can preview it by itself on a map, and you can even export it. So if I wanted to download my rectified geotiff to open up in a QGIS or ArcGIS Pro, I could go ahead and do that. But yeah, I think that that can be good as a starting point for the demo. I have also put together a sheet that details instructions for reference, if you're forgetting any of those. But as you can see, it's, I think a fairly approachable workflow. Link to the file here. And so then I think, yeah, now we can really start the referenceathon aspect of this georeferenceathon, where, yeah, y'all are welcome to, I showed 2 types of maps. Welcome to select, any maps within those collections, or yeah, like I said, if you had maps that you brought, or other places that you access scan maps from, feel free to use those. And yeah, I think those of us who have done a bit of georeferencing are happy to help out with anyone who has any questions, is facing any trouble And yeah, I think we can help each other out and get a lot of maps georeferenced and yeah, hopefully have fun with it, learn a bit about the process. So enjoy.
Alex, I also noticed as I was testing some things out, you'd mentioned earlier if people are trying to pull maps from our collections portal, that just using the URL has been problematic. If
Yeah.
you delete the end of the default URL to get rid of the download part and just have it end at .jpeg, it's worked every time for me.
Ah, okay, perfect.
So just keep that in mind because yeah, I mean it is a little more efficient, I think, to use the URL compared to downloading and re-uploading. So just wanted to mention that in case it's helpful.
Awesome. Thanks for figuring that out.
Do we want to continue recording as we're going through just the workshop side of it? Do we want to pause it?
Yeah,
Just
I
wanted
think
to
we can
ask.
probably pause it and then
We can start it back up maybe at the end when we're closing everything out.
yeah.
Before he pauses it, for everyone who has come in late that might be watching this later, we didn't realize we didn't start recording right away, but I think we caught it in time to catch all of the actual instruction, which is great. So,
Yeah.
all right, thanks.